In 1948, a chandelier in the White House began to sway. There was no wind, no earthquake, no explanation. President Harry Truman stood frozen, watching 2 tons of crystal rock back and forth above his daughter's piano. The floor beneath him groaned, a sound no building should ever make. Engineers would later discover the truth. The most famous home in America was weeks away from collapsing into a pile of rubble, with the first family still inside. But this wasn't the first time a president faced the terrifying reality that the White House was trying to kill its occupants. And it wouldn't be the last. For over 2 centuries, every single president has changed something about this building. Some with congressional blessing, others with nothing but executive will and a checkbook. The story begins with fire. In August 1814, British soldiers marched into Washington, D.C. with torches in hand and revenge on their minds. President James Madison had already fled. His wife Dolly grabbed a portrait of George Washington and ran into the night. Within hours, the White House was a smoking skeleton of charred stone and ash. Madison faced a choice that would set the precedent for every renovation to come. Congress held the purse strings. Without their approval, there would be no rebuilding. Madison got his funding of $500,000, a fortune in 1815, and commissioned James Hoban to resurrect the mansion. But here's what most history books skip. Madison left office before it was finished. James Monroe moved into the restored White House in 1817 and immediately started spending. He ordered French Empire furniture so extravagant that Congress launched an investigation. Monroe had exceeded his budget by thousands. He paid the difference from his own pocket, setting another precedent. Presidents who want things Congress won't fund often pay themselves. For decades, the White House aged quietly. Then Chester Arthur arrived in 1881 and declared the interior unfit for human habitation. Rats infested the walls. The furniture was Victorian nightmare fuel. Arthur didn't ask Congress for renovation money. He used the existing executive mansion budget and his own influence to orchestrate a transformation. Louis Comfort Tiffany installed stained glass. 24 wagon loads of old furniture were auctioned off. Arthur proved that a president with taste and determination could reshape the White House without a single congressional vote. Theodore Roosevelt took that lesson further. When he moved in with his rambunctious 6 children in 1901, the building couldn't contain them. Kids roller skated through the East Room. A pony rode the elevator. Roosevelt wanted the West Wing built, a separate executive office building attached to the mansion. This required congressional appropriation. He got $475,000 in 1902, and the West Wing was born. Roosevelt also officially renamed the building the White House by executive order. No vote needed, just presidential letterhead. William Howard Taft followed with his own mark. In 1909, he expanded the West Wing and created the first Oval Office. Congress funded the expansion, but the oval shape? That was Taft's personal preference. He wanted a room that felt presidential. He got it. Calvin Coolidge faced crisis in 1927 when the roof caught fire. Emergency repairs couldn't wait for congressional debate, but the full reconstruction, adding an entirely new 3rd floor, required appropriations. Coolidge got the money. The White House grew taller. Franklin D. Roosevelt left fingerprints everywhere. He expanded the West Wing again in 1934, relocated the Oval Office to its current position, and added the first indoor swimming pool, funded by public donations, not taxpayer money. When wealthy supporters offered to pay, FDR accepted. No congressional approval required for gifts. Then came Truman and that swaying chandelier. The engineer's report was catastrophic. The interior walls were held up by habit and luck. Margaret Truman's piano leg had punched through the floor. The entire structure could pancake without warning. This wasn't a renovation. It was emergency surgery. Truman needed Congress, and he needed them fast. Congress appropriated $5.4 million. Truman moved to Blair House, while workers gutted everything inside the White House, leaving only the stone exterior walls. They dug a new foundation, installed a steel skeleton, and essentially built a new building inside the old shell. 4 years later, Truman walked back into a White House that looked historic, but was entirely modern underneath. Only the facade remained original. Dwight Eisenhower's contribution seems quaint by comparison, a putting green on the south lawn. No congressional approval needed. The National Park Service, which maintains White House grounds, handled it. Eisenhower paid for its upkeep personally. When squirrels kept digging up his green, he reportedly ordered them relocated. Executive power has its limits. The squirrels kept coming back. John F. Kennedy barely touched the structure, but Jacqueline Kennedy transformed its soul. Her historical restoration recovered antiques, established the White House as a living museum, and aired on television for 60 million viewers. The funding came from private donations and a newly created White House Historical Association. Congress wasn't involved. Jackie proved that soft power and good taste could reshape national identity. Richard Nixon added a single-lane bowling alley beneath the North Portico in 1969. Cost: less than $20,000. Funding source: private donations from bowling industry supporters. Congressional approval: none required. Gerald Ford made a controversial call. The outdoor swimming pool FDR had built, beloved by generations, sat unused. Ford converted the space into the James S. Brady Press briefing room. The press needed a permanent home. Ford gave them one, using executive discretion and existing budgets. The pool still exists, buried beneath the briefing room floor, filled with cables and mechanical equipment. Jimmy Carter installed 32 solar panels on the White House roof in 1979. The cost was covered by federal energy demonstration funds. No new congressional appropriation needed. Carter called them a symbol of America's energy future. Ronald Reagan had them quietly removed in 1986 during a roof repair. He didn't announce it. He didn't need permission. The panels simply disappeared. George Bush added a horseshoe pit. Bill Clinton installed a jogging track on the South Lawn and updated the White House movie theater. George W. Bush built a t-ball field for children's events and added a small basketball court that was later expanded. Which brings us to Barack Obama. Obama transformed that modest basketball court into a full tennis and basketball complex, a multi-sport facility on the South Lawn. He paid for part of it with personal funds. The rest came from private donations. No congressional involvement. Michelle Obama added the famous kitchen garden, also privately funded and maintained. Obama reinstalled solar panels on the roof in 2014, completing a symbolic circle Carter had started 35 years earlier. Once again, no congressional vote required for any of it. Donald Trump, during his first term, ordered significant updates to the White House interior. New wallpaper, updated furnishings, improvements to the private residence. These fell under the standard White House maintenance budget and executive discretion. Trump also made extensive use of Mar-a-Lago, raising questions about whether the White House even needed renovation when the president preferred spending time elsewhere. Now, in his second term beginning 2025, Trump has signaled interest in more substantial changes. Reports suggest potential updates to the Oval Office decor, modifications to executive spaces, and possible alterations to the grounds. The key distinction remains the same as it's been for 2 centuries. Cosmetic changes, personal additions, and gift-funded improvements require no congressional approval. Structural modifications, major construction, and anything requiring new federal appropriations must go through Congress. The pattern is clear. Presidents who want to add a basketball court, remove solar panels, or install a bowling alley simply do it. They use discretionary funds, accept private donations, or pay out of pocket. But presidents who face structural emergencies, fire damage, foundation collapse, roof reconstruction, must negotiate with Congress. The building's bones belong to the nation. Its personality belongs to whoever lives there. Joe Biden made his own quiet marks. Updated infrastructure, accessibility improvements, energy efficiency upgrades, most funded through existing maintenance allocations. Every president leaves fingerprints. Some are visible. FDR's pool, Truman's steel skeleton, Roosevelt's West Wing. Others are invisible. The wiring behind the walls, the security systems nobody discusses, the bunkers whose existence is officially neither confirmed nor denied. The White House endures not because it's unchanging, but because it changes constantly. Each president inherits a building shaped by predecessors and reshapes it for successors. Some changes require congressional approval. Most don't. The distinction reveals something profound about American power. Presidents control their home, far more absolutely than they control their country.